So the title of this video might actually seem kind of confusing, but basically what's going on here is I wanted to do some analysis here on something I think that's actually happening. So if you watch the CNN interview with Kamala Harris, she was getting called out for waffling on a lot of things. Like, for example, in the press, she actually said she wanted to like decriminalize the border, and then now she's running like really hard on the border and all of these different flip-flops that she's done. She said she supported Medicare for all, even worse, she lied about supporting Medicare for all, but she backed away on that really, really quick. Same thing with federal jobs guarantee and a bunch of other stuff. And so she also now supports fracking, where she didn't before. So a massive flip-flopper, right? And we know by John Kerry from 2004 that flip-flopper tag was really, really effective against him in terms of losing the election. And so one kind of wonders, why is Kamala Harris not being painted by that when she clearly has a similar situation to be able to have the same attack line against her, right? That's kind of the question. And so what you're able to see here is a video of Donald Trump. He's kind of waffling on abortion now. So Florida has an amendment in Florida. It's called Amendment 4. It basically says that what it would be able to do is, in Florida, there won't be any possible laws that would be able to be passed that would limit abortion access prior to viability. He's going to make up a bunch of lies here, but he's come out and said that he's going to leave it up to the states, which is a big deal in terms of like where the Republican Party is. But let's go ahead and check out what he says about this. Let's go ahead and watch.
You overturned Roe, and you want abortion to be a states' rights issue. In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's an abortion-related amendment on the ballot to overturn the 6-week ban in Florida. How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor of the amendment?
I'm voting that, I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. Look, just so you understand, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated for years, 52 years. I got it done. They wanted it to go back to the states. Exceptions are very important for me, for Ronald Reagan, for others that have navigated this very, very interesting and difficult path.
So what you can see here is, again, he's waffling even on just being able to say it, right? Political speak of like, I'm voting for more than 6 weeks. But coming out against the 6 weeks thing is a big thing for the Republican Party. And so he's trying to moderate the position on abortion, because abortion is actually a really salient issue. It's one of the most salient and effective issues, in fact. I had read in one poll, I can't remember if it was AZ or where exactly it was. It might have been, I think it was AZ, but it was like, it asked what your most important issue for voting was, or not most important issue, but the one that would determine your vote the most. And the plurality was abortion. It was like 23% or something, but it was a plurality though. So it was the issue that got the most votes, right? So you can see he's kind of waffling on this, and he won't even say he's voting no on the Florida Amendment 4. So he's coming out and saying this on the one hand, which is a big shift. He flip-flops all the time. And, he brings up Ronald Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan was supposed to be like the Jesus for that, but he did a bunch of on abortion, that kind of stuff. He didn't end up being like the religious fundamentalist like that. And then he also gave like a bunch of amnesty, I think like to like 4 million like Mexicans or something like that. So on some of those things, he didn't end up doing that. But let's go ahead and check this clip out now.
Voting yes or no on Amendment 4 in Florida?
So I think 6 weeks, you need more time than 6 weeks. I've disagreed with that right from the early primaries. When I heard about it, I disagreed with it. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. And, some of the states like Minnesota and other states have it where you could actually execute the baby after birth. And all of that stuff is unacceptable. So I'll be voting no for that reason.
Yeah, so this guy is severely, severely mentally retarded. But obviously there's no baby executions happening. He's just pulling that out of his ass. And even like the 9-month things are insane. Like that doesn't even happen. And then the Florida Amendment, in the text, it literally says prior to viability. To be fair, I actually don't know what their viability marker is. I don't know if it would have been like I think the Roe marker was like 21, and then, or I don't know if the Casey marker was 21. Maybe the Roe was 24. I can't remember. And I think Roberts wanted the viability marker to be 15, I think, because he I think didn't want to overturn Roe entirely. He just wanted to lower the number. But I think Casey had lowered it even from Roe. But so again, he's just obfuscating, non sequitur, just complete like a pivot to something else completely. But the most important thing here is he keeps flip-flopping. He can't choose an actual position. So originally he says he's going to vote in favor of Amendment 4, and I think Amendment 4 needs to hit a super majority of the vote in order to pass. It can't just get a regular majority. It needs a filibuster-proof majority, 60%. So it's going to actually be hard to get there. What you can see is this fudger is actually flip-flopping harder than Kamala Harris is, because most of Kamala's flops have been like from the past already. Like it happened a couple years ago when she was already vice president, but Trump's flops are happening in real time. And so I actually think it would be much, much more damaging if they were able to get her on the John Kerry thing. I call it the John Kerry attack method, where it's like, yo, you just keep flip-flopping over and over again. But I think that Trump is actually helping Kamala Harris, because I think if Kamala Harris were in a situation where Trump was not flip-flopping like this so much, where it's like, yeah, I'll vote yes on this, vote no on this, and he just keeps going back and forth, and there's other stuff too that he does this, where he just like, he flip-flops on what stuff he supports, and he'll just like flip-flop over and over again. Like he just randomly came out with the IVF stuff. We'll see if that kind of sticks or not. We'll see how that goes. But because Trump is flip-flopping so much, he's actually helping Kamala Harris, because I believe that Kamala Harris would actually get attacked much harder for being a John Kerry type, because they even got her on the interview on so many different things, right? There's so much stuff. With the fracking stuff, the border stuff, Medicare for all, federal jobs guarantee. That's 4 major things, right? Those are not minor details. They're huge. And she's a serial flip-flopper. But when the other guy is flip-flopping in real time, because most of those flip-flops, she had already renounced those policies when she was VP. Medicare for all, I think it took her like maybe 5 milliseconds to walk it back. Federal jobs guarantee, maybe 6. And then fracking, I don't know how long it took her, but I think that was in the past too. But when Trump is doing it real time, and then you can't even get him to like say something where he's kind of like, oh, well, I'm voting for this, I'm not voting for that, or whatever. He's like, he won't even say it directly. I think this actually protects her. And so he's actually neutering this attack line. And so I would say, from a political analysis standpoint, I think that she's getting lucky from his flip-flopping, because if he weren't flip-flopping like this, she would be in a lot bigger of trouble. And so that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people like me, for example, I'm not like super big on Kamala Harris, if at all. I'm not really a Kamala Harris fan. This election, unfortunately, ends up being just kind of getting Trump out, right? You want to prevent the like literal takeover and rise of fascism. And so we kind of have to be in this situation where it's like, all right, we just have to get this election over with. My problem is it feels like a hamster wheel, because this happened in 2020 as well. And then it happened in 2016 as well. And so I think he's been in something like, we were talking about this in the live stream. It was like something like close to 7% of presidential elections have contained Trump in them. I think if that's correct. If that's wrong, you can correct that. But that's a significant portion. And so we're stuck in this hamster wheel. And so at what point do you actually get something good, right? At what point do you actually get something good? So Kamala Harris herself is a flip-flopper who flip-flops all the time. I don't think she has any beliefs that she holds. She's kind of just a shapeshifter, kind of like Hillary Clinton. I think like Joe Biden, for example, is like a more conservative dude. He actually did like a good flip where he randomly just flipped left for like no reason. And he had like the most like progressive labor board in like a long time, and like, BBB and ending the Afghanistan war and all that stuff, like just randomly out of nowhere, just like left shift. We got lucky big time, right? But he's like kind of a more conservative dude. But a lot of politicians, most of them are shapeshifters. But I don't think she has even a single opinion that she cares about or believes in. I think that she's just somebody who's just a complete open vessel, which is what I don't like about her. But the idea could be, hopefully it ends up being a good thing where she ends up capitulating to progressive ideals because they're popular. But yeah, man. So she's actually really lucky that she's not going to get John Kerry, but it's because Trump is out carrying Kamala.